Hey everyone, this is Maria with the Bead Club. I'm going to be making this really cute pair of earrings today using our product of the month, the Rullas. You can see them in the center here. I'm also going to be using some fire polish beads, fire polish rounds, some super duos, some size 11 seed beads, and some 3.4 millimeter drops. So it does have quite a bit of variety of beads in this one earring, but you can see from the little piles I've created here, you actually need very few beads. Okay, first you're going to pick up 6 rulers and 6 seed beads in between. So we're going to alternate those on our needle. So I'm going to start with a ruler, 1 11/0 seed bead, 1 ruler, 1 11/0. And you're just really going to do this until you have all 6 of your, oops, I have 2 seed beads on there. You're just going to do that until you have 6 rulers, 6 seed beads alternating. And I started with a ruler, so I'm going to end with a seed bead. So you can see there I have my 6 rulers and 6 seed beads in between. I'm going to let those slide down my thread, and I'm going to go back through all of those beads again. So through the ruler, through that first hole, through all the seed beads that you have on there. And I'm going to leave about maybe a 6 to 8 inch tail, just so I need that tail at the end. Sorry, I can't seem to bead and talk. I'm going to use that tail at the end to pop that little fire polish in the center of my earring. And you can actually do this earring without that in the middle. So when you finish your earring, you want to add it in, it's up to you. If you don't, you can leave it out. Totally up to you. So now you can see that my thread is exiting. This is my tail here, and this is my working thread. So my working thread is exiting that last seed bead there, and I want it to be exiting a ruler. So I'm actually going to stitch past my tail thread a couple rulers and come out with the second one here. So just pull that thread nice and tight, and there you go. And you can lay those beads flat so that you can work with them. Alright, so now my thread is exiting that first hole of the ruler, and I need it to be exiting the second hole. So my thread is going in this direction from left to right, and I'm going to go through the top hole of that same ruler. My thread is exiting from right to left, so I'm reversing my direction now. And it does leave just a tiny bit of thread on there. Okay, maybe I've zoomed in a little too much. But you really are not going to see that at the end. You can barely see it now, just that tiny bit of thread there. So now I'm going to pick up my super duos. So I'm going to pick up 2 super duos. And I'm just going to double check that the second hole isn't blocked, because it's very annoying when you've gotten so far into your work and then you've realized that you can't use that second hole of a super duo. So I always recommend you either check beforehand that all of your holes are free, or as you go along, which I usually do. And then you just go through, my thread is exiting this hole here. I'm going to go through this next one. The second hole of the next ruler, in lane. So now I'm exiting there. I'm going to go around the entire circle and do that same thing. So pick up 2 super duos, Just check that my holes are free and go through that very next ruler through the second hole and pull nice and tight. All right, now I'm going through my very last ruler, and I'm just going through that ruler, not through any other beads. And I just give a nice tight pull. So now my thread is exiting that second hole of a ruler right here, and I'm going to go back around all of that last round to just to give an added layer of security to my work. And just make sure you pull nice and tight as you go. Okay, so I've gone back around all through those second holes of my rulers and the first holes of my super duos, and I'm now exiting the top hole of one of my rulers. So what I need to do now, I need to be exiting one of the second holes of the super duos. So I'm actually going to sew forward through a pair of super duos, just through those first holes. And then I'm going to reverse my direction and go through the second hole of that super duo that I'm now exiting. So what I want to do now, I'm adding my my embellishment around the edges of my super duo, my earring, sorry. But I want to pick up a super duo first. So this will be my last super duo that I pick up for this earring. And I'm just going to go through that second hole of the very next super duo in that pair. And my super duo will just pop into place. And then when you're in between a pair of or two pairs of super duos with that ruler in the middle, this is where you pick up one of your 4mm fire polish rounds. So you pick up a 4mm fire polish or a pearl, whatever sort of 4mm bead you're using, and just go through the second hole of the very next super duo in line. And that will just pop into place. And then now we're in between another pair of super duos. We're going to pick up a 3.4mm drop bead. And we're going to go through the second super duo in that pair through that second hole. Now we're back by another ruler. We pick up a 4mm fire polish and go through that second hole. We're in between a pair of super duos. We pick up drop bead. And as I had told you before, we were just using one super duo, one last super duo, but from here on out we'll just be using our 4mm fire polished beads and our drop beads. So now we're alternating. So 4mm bead, drop bead. Four millimeter and a drop bead. And on our last fire polish, we're just going to go through can't seem to get my needle through, there you go. We're going to go through that first super duo, the second hole of the first super duo we get through, and then and then through that first hole of the super duo that we added first in this round. So just through those two super duos to pop that last 4mm in place. From here, now we're going to add a loop for our earring hook. So we're just going to reverse. We're going from left to right, if you're holding it this way, from left to right. And we're going to go through that same super duo our thread is exiting in between our pair of super duos here, from right to left. Oops, I got this tail caught. So I'm just going to flip it around so it's easier for me to work with. So now my thread is exiting that super duo to the top in between the pair of super duos that I have here. And I'm going to add some seed beads to create a loop for my earring hook. So I'm going to pick up 3 size 11 seed beads. And I'm going to let those slide down, and then we're going to pick up my earring hook because I don't have a jump ring on it, so it's not going to go over the seed beads. Let that slide down, and then I'm going to pick up 3 more 11 ohs. Now I want my thread is exiting this side of my super duo. I'm going to come around from the opposite direction and take my needle through that same hole. I'm just going to pull my beads, my thread nice and tight. And I want to reinforce that, and you can reinforce this as many times as you're comfortable doing. This through my earring hook. Oops. And down the beads on the other side. And you can do that again if you want to. Right? So now I've come back through the same hole that my loop is attached to, that top hole of my seed bead, my super duos. Okay, I just went for light because it's starting to get a little dark in here. So I hope this helps. Okay, so as I was saying, I've taken my needle all the way around my seed bead loop here from my earring hook, and then back through the top hole of my super duo. So what I'm going to do now is I need to tie this thread off. So I'm going to reverse my direction. My thread is now coming from left to right through the center seed bead here. I'm going to take it through the bottom hole of that same super duo from right to left, and then just through a few beads next to it. So through the next super duo and the fire polish next to it. And just pull that nice and tight. And I'm going to tie a few knots as I work my way around the edge of my earring. Alright, I've taken my thread around the outside edge of my earring, and I'm just going to take my thread burner now and burn that working thread off. I'm going to take my needle off that thread and put it onto the tail that I left on there from the beginning. Alright, I have my needle threaded onto my tail thread, and what I'm going to do now is, if you can see, my tail is exiting this Rulla bead right here from left to right. I'm going to pick up my fire polish and I'm going to find the Rulla that is opposite that one that my thread is exiting, which would be this one right here. And if your thread was not exiting a ruler to begin with, just take it forward until it does exit one of your rulers, and then find the one that's opposite that particular ruler. So as I was saying, my thread is exiting from left to right, this ruler here. I'm going to take it from right to left through the ruler opposite. So that's going to pop my, oops, I'm going to get it wrapped around my hook. That's going to pop my ruler in the middle there. But as you can see, it's not centered and it's not attached very well. So what I'm going to do now is take my needle back up through that ruler. And hold it in place, pull it nice and tight. And I'm going to go through the ruler opposite from left to right. So if you can look closely, you can see the thread that's holding my ruler in my 4mm in place is on the right hand side. Now I'm going to make a connection on the left hand side. And pull your thread nice and tight. Alright, I've taken my needle around that middle row and that center row, and I've tied a few half hitch knots along the way. Now I'm just going to burn my thread off. So my thread zap there. And my earring is now completed. So you can go ahead and make your second earring. Now you can see how cute it is and how easy and quick. And it really uses very few beads, lots of leftover beads you can, use to create this. I have a really great time making this project. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.